There's a very real possibility that I get sued as a
Why would you get sued?
result of this video.
Apollo Quiboloy surrendered to police after a 2-week search of his 30-hectare estate in the city of Davao.
It's unlikely,
That's a pretty big place.
but it could happen. It's happened to another YouTuber.
Dear Mr. Apollo, first of all, you.
Imagine being so desperate to hide your alleged crimes. And by alleged crimes, I mean the FBI has
Oh God.
a warrant out for your arrest and you're on the most wanted list. Pretty hard to get on that list.
This is the man who calls himself the appointed son of God.
He's not the appointment son of God. I can bet $100 on it. And I normally don't bet.
Apollo Quiboloy.
Today we're talking about this guy named Apollo and what exactly he's been up to on the internet. Not exactly a likable guy. I've already mentioned the FBI's most wanted thing, but his rap sheet is terrifying. He
And no, I don't believe in gambling.
has a federal warrant out for his arrest and he's been indicted by a grand jury. I'm gonna pretend like I know what that means, but
What did this guy do? He's trying to say he's son of God?
trust me, you're gonna wanna watch this. It's crazy. In 1985, a fellow in Davao City, Philippines claimed some angels showed up and had a chat with him. That seems realistic. And this
I'm doubting.
guy's name was Apollo Quiboloy. I'm gonna say everything wrong in this video. I apologize in advance. And this guy decided after this moment that he was the appointed son of God, and then he kicked off the kingdom of Jesus
You're kidding me. He's not the son of God.
Christ Church, aka a cult, or some say a cult. Many
A cult which is completely evil.
people say a cult. Apollo was once a humble preacher and now is a mega rich cult leader, cross between Diddy, Kenneth Copeland, every evil, crazy, powerful, rich,
Oh God, he's going to hell.
weird person you can think of, and then add another level onto it. This guy is that.
Claims to reach
That looks too rich.
6 million
If he was son of God, he wouldn't have that.
followers with his satellite TV network, numerous publications, private jet, and personal helicopter.
I have to make it very clear that a majority of people think that this is a cult, and the people of the Philippines especially do not like this fellow. Apollo did have some very effective indoctrination tactics that seem to work well on the general public,
I will destroy those whom I wish to destroy.
but
You can't destroy what you wish to destroy because you're not the son of God.
it's not exactly holy, and it isn't
God will never have done any of what he said.
going to end well for him. Things are falling apart. They've fallen apart massively.
Over 2,000 policemen marched from Camp Quintin Merecido to the compound
Jesus spent years of his life helping out the fellow man because God cares. But this guy is not.
of Kingdom of Jesus Christ just beside the Davao Airport before 4 Saturday morning.
It is another classic case of a cult leader, a man who says, hey, everybody needs to listen to me because I have a direct line of communication to God. All right, I've got this Motorola Razr.
Is he stupid? Because he needs to examine that God doesn't use technology to communicate with people. I watch a lot of scriptures and that, and he doesn't use technology.
And I just open it up and I call him and he answers. And I'll never be able to show you because you'd explode, but you have to just believe me and take
Technology, he doesn't use that. And first off, what he's doing is completely evil.
everything I say at faith, and then give me all your money as well. And then Apollo takes that to another level of evil and just horrible sin.
If this is not God's will for me to have these things I have, you can take it away.
Quiboloy wasn't just hurting souls for God, he was also profiting
Okay, what did he do without technology, without human invention, without that, able to do with his body himself, with his spirit himself? I want to see this.
Heavily off of his followers.
And I don't want to be faked.
And former members explained how they were pressured to meet daily donation quotas. It was
If he was a son of God, what did he do? What did he do?
less about give what you can and more about give me everything you have or face divine consequences.
Holy God. That's the last thing anyone should have done.
My name is Apollo Quiboloy, and I am evil and a piece of shit and indicted on federal charges in the United States of America.
Jesus worked years, helped out people. This is a piece of trash.
Bam! The FBI arrests some of his innermost circle, and they're officially looking for Apollo too. And he's being accused of fraud, human trafficking, and sex trafficking, and now he's on the FBI's most wanted list.
You know, the funny thing is, Jesus would never be on the FBI wanted list. He would be called a saint.
Tactics worked very effectively, and he became an incredibly
What's that helicopter for?
rich man. He went from preaching in a rundown building to cruising around on a private jet and continued to ask for more and more and more money.
All because he said he was the son of God.
He built a church compound with an arena called the KJC Kingdom that can seat 75,000 people, which is insane. You really have to spend time to understand the scale.
That's a lot of money for a guy who's not even holy.
Of this thing. I mean, there's
He's going to be holy when he goes to prison.
a lot of POSs in America, mega churches and all this nonsensical shit with these cult-like leaders at the heads of these.
He is not God. He's not even son of God. He doesn't even hear God's voice.
Different organizations.
He's a criminal.
This is on another level. His KJC Mega Ultra Super Thunderdome is one of the largest indoor arenas in the entire world. That's mind-boggling. By 2023,
And yes, I have my reasons.
Quiboloy.
But I did also look up a lot of scriptures and how God communicates with his followers.
His kingdom had ballooned to a whopping 7 million followers worldwide.
Or the people who he will talk to only.
Which is more followers than my own channel. This guy's more popular than me.
He's so wealthy, in fact, that he's able to start his own broadcasting network. And this helps spread his teachings beyond the Philippines. So now he's got followers around the world, in many different countries, including the United States.
Let's find him and turn him into the FBI. That'd be funny. For more reasons than him just having a larger follower count. This guy's a jerk. This guy's a
He's a freaking fraud.
dickhead.
Police Regional Office 11 and policemen from neighboring regions stormed several properties of Kingdom
Just by doing what he does, he's against God.
of Jesus Christ leader Apollo Quiboloy. This is to serve the warrants of
All the scriptures I ever read stated God just wants you to be a nice, kind person and not commit crimes. Otherwise, he's just a shepherd. He's the guy who, you know, the guys, people, you see the sheep out there who see their flock moving around and they just round them up a little bit. That's all he is. That's all he's doing. He does not do anything. That's why people commit crimes underneath other different things, because God is just watching.
of arrest against the pastor as well as the 5 co-accused for charges of child
And yes, this guy is going to go to hell. He's probably going to go to, I think, the 12th gate.
abuse and human trafficking.
He's just like Joel Osteen and Kenneth Copeland in terms of his wealth. The guy has about $100 million net worth, is estimated at that.
You mean it's going to be zero soon?
Quiboloy quickly gained a massive follower base, grew a ton of power, made a bunch of money. He
Okay, let's see he can do something that only God, only Jesus can do.
was even appointed as a spiritual advisor by the previous president of the Philippines, a guy named Rodrigo Duterte, a tyrant by all meanings of the word, I'd say.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte has called on Filipinos to pray for peace and justice as he criticized the police for what he called its abuse of authority.
And I don't mean some fake person come up saying I'm healed. He go to a hospital where there's people who are dying, who have terminal cancer, who will be dying soon, and heal them. If he's truly the Son of God.
And ignoring people's rights in its ongoing search for.
And I don't mean in the Philippines. I mean in the United States. Come to the United States and heal a whole entire building.
Televangelist and Kingdom of Jesus Christ leader Apollo Quiboloy.
I never understood why it's a thing that these leaders of mega churches and cult leaders like this guy can make so much money and their followers think it's normal. It's just, I guess he's super charismatic. They believe the things that he's saying, and then they always lie and say it's God's will.
If my goodness I'm doing is persecuted and maligned and I'm falsely accused, I will double that goodness.
He's going to go to hell no matter what.
You know, I'm not going to be riding around here on this tube full of hot demons, all right? I got to get my own private jet. I don't want to get farted on by a goddamn baby or something, you know?
Jesus worked his ass off.
That's what Kenneth Copeland said, I think.
No, I do not. And don't you.
Jesus said he would destroy all the churches and rebuild it in the kingdom of God.
You ever say I did?
So it's clear that Apollo gained.
What do you think that truly means? He would destroy the churches and rebuild it in the kingdom of God.
A lot of power and was a very influential guy. And as his empire grew, things got really bad from the inside out. I mean, this guy is on kind of a different level from all these other freaks taking advantage of people. He began to use his power and position to exploit women who would come to follow him. He had pastorals, which were young women serving as his personal assistants. They often found themselves trapped in nightmares of abuse and manipulation.
And of course, the prettiest and most obedient pastoral assistants, they get into Apollo's inner circle, and they become what are called spiritual wives. And spiritual wives, they get a special privilege. They get the privilege of smashing with Apollo.
These weren't just assistants. They were expected to do anything that Quiboloy wanted, and he is a man of pure evil. So
he's beyond evil.
You know, your imagination can probably fill in the blanks there. These pastorals were allegedly forced to have sex with Quiboloy under the guise of it being service to God. It's part of your religious duty, the same way he would force people to give him money or to give money to his church through it being service to God or serving something greater. You don't need the money, I do, because I'm the one going around spreading this amazing message. He applied the exact same logic to more and more things.
Quiboloy has been accused of kidnapping and brainwashing.
You know, if he was really the Jesus, he wouldn't be spending the money on that bike.
By the parents of at least
or that big house.
One of his followers, but he was never charged. He insists that anyone is free to leave his flock and seal their fate for eternity.
Will they go to hell?
It's up to them. They know that.
So if you leave his flock, you go to hell. That's actually not, that's totally against Jesus' way of what he did for his life. He did not care what this guy cares about. This is completely against the rules.
So that's your will, you know. If you want to go to hell, no one will stop you.
This guy is completely corrupt. Jesus would never said that. He worked against the whole. At that time, we were praying to deities. He was totally against the church, totally. He worked his ass off to become what he became, but he also had the power with God.
If you want to go to heaven and follow this way, no one will stop you to
come work with you.
Yeah.
Many ex-members have come out testifying against Quiboloy and really articulating how bad the guy is and what type of sick things he's up to behind the scenes.
Singapore-based worker Renita Fernandez was only 14 years old when she started working for Pastor Apollo Quiboloy. She shared to News 5 her traumatizing experience under Quiboloy's Kingdom of Jesus Christ.
It's very Epstein mixed with Diddy, mixed with Kenneth Copeland. It's a whole new level of cult.
He's got a long sentence ahead of him. Hell is called prison.
It's wild. To give some more credence to the Epstein part, a U.S.
If you go to hell, you're meant to go there because you have broke the law.
grand jury indictment mentions victims as young as
hell is prison. And who do you think is the chief of police?
12 worked as these pastorals for Quiboloy. Alongside spiritual manipulation, there was also threats of violence, allegedly, and verbal abuse, allegedly, to keep the pastorals and anybody else that Quiboloy wanted kept in line, you know, to stay in line. These pastorals and other people that were forced to do things by Quiboloy were paid based on their performance, which is terrible when you get more context as to exactly what that means. They were cash payments that were paid using money gathered from US-based workers of the organization. In 2021, the DOJ with the FBI charged Quiboloy with a bunch of crimes, including the trafficking of children, and they issued a warrant for his arrest. And finally, in September of this year, he was arrested peacefully at his mega ultra compound of cult.
The PNP, however, said they will not stop searching every corner of the compound.
And the thing is, he thinks he's going to go to heaven because he is a preacher.
Until they find the subjects of the arrest.
Dude, you're going to hell.
Warrants. Police officials are appealing to the followers to let them do their jobs.
The indictment stated that the pastorals were required to perform various domestic tasks for Quiboloy.
What I would say, if you say you are God, you're Jesus, do something only Jesus can do.
Including preparing his meals, working, cleaning, and in addition to that, engaging in sexual acts during their night duty, all with the threat of eternal damnation lingering over them if they didn't do exactly what he wanted.
That would never happen. If he was Jesus, he would never said that. He would show he was Jesus.
There are at least 68 victims according to federal authorities. Police around the world is believed there's at least 68 and up to 200 police have said from various reputable sources. So this is pure evil.
What a pile of human trash.
Just walking on Earth. So Apollo is a massive piece of shit and he deserves to burn and rot for the rest of his life. I have no qualms about saying that. That's just my personal opinion. Allegedly, indubitably, speculatively. I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
And yes, there's going to be a link in the description for this video.
But this guy wasn't only just evil, he also had a criminal enterprise, essentially. Have you ever wondered how someone like this, a self-proclaimed son of God, could fund a lavish lifestyle that would eventually lead to him having one of the largest indoor arenas in the world for his minions to come to?
Today's new indictment, which accuses the church and its officials of trafficking, alleges that Quiboloy was the ringleader.
So a piece of trash.
Leader of the criminal enterprise.
The founder of the church.
Jesus would have never done that.
Church and two top administrators were charged.
From all the holy Bibles and other stuff I've read, I've looked up a lot about Jesus and his life. This is something he would have never done.
For orchestrating a trafficking operation.
And if God was to talk to him, he would more likely would have told him not to do it. And he would have to listen.
Actually, recruited and coerced girls as young as 12 years old.
This dishonest grift scam, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that Quiboloy was using to enrich himself was very elaborate and complex. The feds started investigating Quiboloy's U.S.
Everything he's done will be justice in the future.
Operations and found some disgusting, abhorrent shit.
The feds say there were a total of 5 women who were trafficked and that 3 of them were minors. Attorney Victor Baki represented one of those victims.
Human trafficking, fraud, large amounts of cash going around doing bizarre things, and the entire thing blew up and centered around a fake charity called the Children's Joy Foundation. This piece of shit made
Holy God.
A charity, a fake shell charity called the Children's Joy Foundation. What? So the
what kind of crappy foundation did he make?
The church would send members out on the street for the Children's Joy Foundation to beg for donations, supposedly to help poor
beg for foundations? You're making millions of dollars.
Children, but in actuality, all the money just went into Quiboloy's pockets. All his crimes
Holy freaking H.
are laid out in the FBI's 74-page indictment. It's 74 pages, and it is so much information, and it's a lot of crimes that are crazier and more insane and evil, and he's a
I can't say the word.
dick. He's a dickhead. By the way, the church members that were out begging for donations for the Children's Joy Foundation weren't scamming people willingly. They were coerced by higher-ups into sham marriages or getting them fraudulent
He was trying to make as much money as he could.
student visas to
He's a complete fraud.
keep them in the U.S. year-round, and this was what they were forced to do. They were forced to beg for fake charity donations.
They thought maybe they would be conducting concerts, things like that. And then when they got here, they would take their passports from them. They would force them to solicit funds. They don't believe in many cases that they're able to escape. They believe that once their passport is taken or their visas
He's not from the kingdom of God.
are taken from
He's using the name of God.
them, that they have no status here. I believe $20 million we've at least established at this point has been sent to the Philippines, and most of that money we believe has gone to the lavish lifestyles of the leaders of this organization.
And while all this is going on, Quiboloy is living it up on his massive 400-hectare compound.
Right now, he's arrested.
On private jets with the former president of the country he was headquartered
He paid off the former president.
out of. He didn't only have a compound in the Philippines, he also had multiple properties in the United States, including a multi-million-dollar mansion in Vegas. And
Yeah, look at all the money he was making. This is the thing about these big preachers, is they're taking the money from the poor who are trying their best to give it to the people who need it, and they're taking the money and buying themselves a freaking mansion.
And I tell you what, guys, nothing says man of God like the reckless acquisition of United States properties in areas like Los Angeles and just...
This is the truth of fake preachers and fake people who say they're about God.
Unfettered gambling. The city that never sleeps. Or is that Los Angeles? I forget. Cash changed hands in bizarre ways between Quiboloy and his men. Money flowed back to him through wire transfers and literally good old-fashioned cash smuggling. The FBI even showed that Quiboloy himself once flew on a private jet with over $335,000 in cash, Mr. Beast style. The scale of...
He's taking from the poor and giving it to himself.
This grift is absolutely mind-boggling.
Many of these people who gave stuff to these churches probably needed the money themselves.
It's like a megachurch international crime syndicate cult leader chimera hybrid with 15 heads. While all this is going on, he's slowly getting found out by the United States government, and on November 10th, 2021, the FBI puts his name on the FBI's most wanted list. He's indicted eventually by a grand jury, etc. We've already talked about all that. But while this happened, he just kept on preaching like nothing at all happened. The feds had some insane indictments out on him. What is his...
He thinks he's immortal because he say he's the Jesus son. No, he's the God's son. You know it doesn't count if you're just saying it without any actual being him.
His response to this? He just denies everything. He plays the victim card.
I could say I was the son of God, but I'm not.
To those who are attacking me and those who want to...
What, if I say I was the son of God, I should be worth billions? No, I'm just saying it, but I'm not.
Attack me, to all of you, even America, you are now meddling. Shut up, bitch! Poor little baby getting...
I'm gonna bet when he was the preacher, before he said he was the son of God, he was making hardly anything. His followers barely giving him anything. His church was not going anywhere. He thought his life was going to be trash, so he decided, I'll just have one night be called the son of God had called me, and then I'm gonna run with this and get all the money I can.
Picked on by the big bad FBI. Wait till the ATF shows up and you get Waco'd, bro. I shouldn't say that. That's incredibly insensitive. Waco was terrible.
Waco was.
A lot of innocent people died and were murdered by the ATF. I don't want that to happen. I would like this guy to go to jail, though. You know, jokes aside, I want this guy to go to jail for the rest of his life, obviously. So the indictment...
Yeah, I want to see him go to jail for the rest of his life and find out what people in jail thinks of him.
In 2021, and I mentioned earlier that he was arrested a couple months ago. How the f does a guy with a federal arrest warrant like that stay out of cuffs? Well, having friends in very high places helps a lot, and Quiboloy was friends with tyrant Rodrigo Duterte for years, and once again, Quiboloy was his spiritual advisor, which is a pretty high position, I think. A lot of the accusations and allegations mysteriously disappeared from the media outlets and online in the Philippines, but this all came to an end when Ferdinand Marcos Jr. took over as president, and suddenly the Philippine government wasn't so keen on protecting Quiboloy anymore.
And the FBI starts looking into him, and this investigation makes the news, and Apollo hears about it, and he's like, oh shit. And he allegedly flees the US, and he goes all the way back to the Philippines to his church compound there. And there, he'll be protected by his longtime friend, President Rodrigo. But unfortunately, his friend Rodrigo finishes his term as president, leaves office, and now there's a new president. And new president is not Apollo's friend.
Marcos Jr. made it clear that
basically, the guy who he was paying off he tried to pay off the next president, and he said no.
Quiboloy would have to suffer the con in the Philippines before anyone even thought about shipping him off to the US, and the Philippine authorities launched a massive manhunt, and we're talking 2,000 security personnel scouring the country for this guy. It's like, where's Waldo? But instead of a dude in a striped shirt, they're looking for a dude in fancy robes who believes he's the son of God. So it's really nothing at all.
Or he's going to go to the terminal damnation.
Like the first one, but it's still entertaining. It's a fun game to play.
The Philippine National Police defends their operations to serve a warrant of arrest against religious leader Apollo Quiboloy. Over 100 policemen stormed the properties of Quiboloy in Davao on Monday, which led to a scuffle with the pastor's supporters.
Finally, fast forward August 23rd, 2024. Quiboloy's 30-hectare compound in Davao City turned into ground zero for a standoff that would make the Waco siege look way worse. It wasn't as bad as the Waco siege, but for 2 whole weeks, Quiboloy's loyal followers turned his church into a fortress. They weren't messing around. They had barricades. They chucked rocks at cops like wild, crazed animals. They even set up burning tires on nearby roads. Authorities suspected that Quiboloy might be hiding in some kind of underground bunker or cave.
He did not want to go to jail because he was screwed.
Or something like that. So they brought these fancy sound penetrating sensing machines, and they're seismographs, and they tried to detect any kind of activity underground, maybe him casting spells or doing wizard shit, levitating, etc. As the siege with this cult leader went on and continued in time, reports began to arise claiming that Quiboloy's followers were ready to die for him, which is very bad, because if you're not careful at that point, then you could get a mass casualty incident a la Waco, a la basically all the other cult things that have happened. The police had to approach the situation tactfully in order to not cause a mass casualty event or some kind of mass suicide or something like that. After 16 days of this absolute nonsense, Quiboloy finally decided to come out of hiding on September 8th, 2024, where he surrendered. They slapped some cuffs on him and they took that son of a bitch out of there. This guy's lawyer said after his arrest that Quiboloy does not want lawless violence to continue within the KO.
Why did he barricade himself?
JC compound. Like they're the good guys, like they're the actual good guys. One of the things that I always see and hear around these cult scenarios and situations, people are like, I wouldn't do that. I mean, just say no, you just don't listen to them. But in reality, these things don't appeal to people who are in good places. Cults appeal to people who are desperate and they need a sense of safety. These people have problems, disorders, anxiety. Normal people also can just be, they can fall into it because maybe a family member is falling into it. They prey on the vulnerable and the needy. That's why there is such a high rate of causation and correlation between religious sects and cults, because people find solace through the teachings of the cult. And then obviously if you have an evil piece of shit at the head or the tip of this, then they can take advantage of it until the end of time. And they try to, and they will, and then they'll either die in a blaze like in Waco, or they will get arrested. I guess. I don't know. It's fucked up and sad. I do know that though. And I feel terrible for any of the people that were involved, especially the people who were actually victimized by this piece of shit. There's a 74-page indictment surrounding the arrest of this man, and everybody wants a piece of him in the Philippines. There's all these non-bailable qualified human trafficking charges, different acts that he's committed crimes under. The United States wants a piece of him as well. If convicted just on the United States sides of things, Quiboloy could be looking at 15 years minimum to life for substantive trafficking charges and another 5 to 20 years for fraud and money laundering. That's a lot of time to contemplate whether or not you're actually God's chosen one. And
which he's not.
All this is without mentioning the trafficking conspiracy charge, which that could carry a penalty of life in prison, which I hope it does.
If he was the son of the God, he could get out of it. But he's not.
God is real at will. You shouldn't.
And God is real.
Test God. I'm sorry, I apologize. I want to see him go through the legal and punitive process in the Philippines so then he can be extradited to the United States of America. I hope that happens. I hope that actually does happen. And
don't worry, the jailer's waiting.
And they can just extract everything from him and really throw him around. Because I don't know, I mean, obviously his relationship with the previous tyrant who was in control of the Philippines kind of allowed him to do whatever he wants. So maybe.
And he probably is going to get in trouble too. With all this crap, even he's going to have troubles.
There's still some incumbent corruption out there that might take it easy on him. Maybe he won't ever get extradited. I have no idea. But I know the DOJ will not take it easy on him. 2 of his co-accused have already agreed to plead guilty, but Quiboloy, obviously being the son of God, he went with the classic, not guilty on all charges. Take it up with the big man upstairs. It pisses me off a little
have fun in your far future.
Bit that this guy still has followers somehow. He still has a presence on social media, and people still believe that he's actually not guilty. Apparently his lawyers do as well. So these are
it's easy to have your lawyers to believe you're not guilty if you're paying them enough. You just slap them with a few $1 million, they'll say you're not guilty. Like Daddy, P Daddy, he's not guilty, even though he had 1,000 bottles of baby oil on hand.
These allegations have been out there for quite a while. The indictment was back in 2020.
And a ton of charges.
21, and the United States government has...
You pay a lawyer enough, they'll lie through their teeth.
Actively been trying to get a hold of him since then, and the Philippines have him in custody right now with the same crimes that are being levied against him, that have been levied against him for years by the U.S. Ray William Johnson, that's right, that Ray William Johnson was covering the allegations like we are now, and Apollo Quiboloy, whatever the f his name is suing him or threatening him with a lawsuit. I'm unclear on exactly what's going on. Maybe he's suing the FBI too. Maybe he's suing the National Police of the Philippines for putting out the indictment and tarnishing his brand. Maybe he's suing the victims that are coming forward. He's threatening legal action against a YouTuber with 17 million subscribers for simply talking about allegations that he's being indicted by the United States DOJ.
So a few months ago, I told this story and I outlined a lot of the crimes he's being accused of, and then I moved on to the next story and I didn't really think anything about it. Sometime later, I check an email account that I check like once every 6 months, and I see that I got an email from a law firm in the Philippines stating that they represent Apollo.
That is the most ridiculous thing you can possibly do, bro. Charged and indicted, or whatever. I think it's you're charged and then you're indicted. I'm pretty sure. Any criminal justice people down below, please clarify that for me. Just kidding, I know. Charges are filed by prosecutors and indictments are...
He's paying a lot of money. He's trying to get out of these problems.
...are a result of the grand jury that we talked about.
He's using every penny he has to literally get out. It's not going to happen.
Earlier, so...
Don't worry. When you go to the afterlife, there's a place in hell for you more likely.
This guy is, it's not looking good.
With all the nice stuff like beheadings and you're having your insides scooped out.
For him. It looks really, really, really bad for him. I like that he's suing Ray, though. I think he should come to the U.S. and fight him in court.
And having to work like his people who he forced to do stuff.
see what happens. He should come to the US physically in the United, not a Zoom call, not like
He needs to come to our worst president. He needs to come to and live in a New York prison and be in the jail cell with the regular inmates. He does not have to be in the high-profile ones. Just put him with the rest of the crew, the criminals, the psychos, the lunatics. They would love to talk to him. They need enlightenment. Since he's the son of God, he could easily help them to become good people, can't he? Put him with the regular inmates.
Drake Bell, or whatever the f*** that Zoom call, that legendary Zoom call. Come here.
Just put him in a New York prison. The inmates need to be enlightenment. He should be able to help these guys out.
Here, Quiboloy, and let's
how long he's gonna be there.
Let's live stream it like Amber Heard versus Depp. Members of the FBI will make up the jury for you. You're on their most wanted.
This guy is the most evilest guy on the planet next to the North Korean leader.
List. Part of the email that Ray William Johnson received from Quiboloy's legal representation demanded that he take his video down and issue a public apology.
They sent me this very long and detailed demand letter telling me basically they're gonna take legal action against me, probably sue me, if I don't not only take down my video, but they're insisting that I make a public apology.
Luckily, which I don't know why the f he would, but Ray did not apologize, and he uploaded a response video titled "I'm Not Sorry," in which he no longer just covers the allegations. He repeats and states matter-of-factly that Quiboloy is a sex trafficker, and tells him that he hopes Quiboloy does file a lawsuit so that Ray can keep talking about him.
So go ahead, file your lawsuit. I'll be here waiting, ready to publicize the whole thing and remind the world each time exactly what you're being accused of. Because you will never, never stop me from talking about the awful things that you've done. Good day, sir.
And then maybe he'll come to the United States and he'll get arrested by the FBI and then he'll be extradited. I don't know. This guy's...
Like and subscribe. And this guy is not the son of God. He's a fraud, a piece of trash, a pile of garbage.
So anyways, that guy's a massive piece of shit. Enjoy the rest of your day.